YouTube, it's me, Prairie, and I'm here with a check-in to my summer perspective TBR. I'm not going to list all the books that I had wanted to read throughout the summer. I'll leave the video in which I talk about all of those books down below or in the cards. But yes, in this video I'll just let you know how I did with my goals for reading over the summer. So out of the around 14 book series and 2 other books that I had listed in that video, I read only 1 series to completion. I started 5 book series, which in all of those series I only read the first book in each series. And then I read the 2 other books that I had listed that I wanted to read. Overall, I didn't really stick with that list too much, but I did pretty okay, so I'm pretty proud of myself. So let's get into the actual books that I have read from that list. The series that I completed was the Little House on the Prairie series by Laura Ingalls Wilder, and out of all of the book series that I had listed, this is the one that I kind of cared about the most to complete, because like I said in that video, that my mom is in love with this book series, and the fact that I have not read it completely was basically sacrilegious. If you do not know what the Little House books are about, it is a autobiography / historical fiction account of Laura's life during the late 1800s with her pioneering family. So they've been moving across the west, farther west, as the time goes on, and it's basically just an insight of their everyday lives and all the hardships that they deal with and all that kind of stuff. Now, most of these books I gave an A rating, but there was one book, the last book, that I liked a little bit less. But overall, I think this series is amazing. And if you want to see more of my thoughts, I'll leave the 2 wrap-ups in which I mentioned these books in down below as well. So yeah, like I said, I greatly recommend this. I think this is a great insight into the life of people during that time, despite any issues that we may have with it now with representation or thoughts towards different groups of people. But for the most part, I think it's important that we realize that even though we have changed our opinions on certain things now, there were differing opinions in the past, and we can't just dismiss them or like cover them up. And again, I think this just shows a great difference from our life, not just concerning different issues, but how they actually lived. Because it was hard for them to get the different basic needs of life, so like food, water, shelter, and that's something that comes very easy to us now, so it's a great juxtaposition to what we experience in our everyday lives now. So now I'll go into the 2 books that I read that were just kind of listed there that weren't part of the series that I wanted to start. They were series I have already started and wanted to read the next books in them. So the first book was Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the second book in the Diviner series, which, as you know, I read the first one earlier this year. I don't remember the exact month, but I loved it, so the second I could get my hand on the second book, I did. And let me tell you, I really enjoyed this book. I think this series is going to become one of my favorite series of all time. I love Libba Bray's writing, and yeah, if you do not know, this is a paranormal fantasy in which we primarily follow Evie, although there are multiple points of views. We follow Evie as she leaves her home state of Ohio because she kind of got into trouble, so her parents are sending her to live with her uncle in New York City, which she is super happy about because she likes the atmosphere of New York City and the fame that's going on with it. And I did not mention this is set in the 1920s, which, oh my god, that just adds to my love for it. So yeah, when she's in New York, she's living with her uncle, and her uncle is called on to work on a murder case, and Evie wants to help, not just for the fame of it, but because she has paranormal powers that might help in solving the case. The second book kind of follows the aftermath of the murder case that they were trying to solve, and yeah, I'm not going to go into more because of course it would be spoilery. I do really enjoy these books, like I said, so I do recommend them. And then the second book that was a part of a series, but I had already started previously before the summer, was Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this is a science fiction series in which the first book, which is called Illuminae, we follow 2 characters. I forget their names at this moment, but their home planet was attacked, so they were in the midst of like fleeing their planet to get to a safe center, I forget what it's called, in space. So they were heading there, but then a whole bunch of problems ensue, and with the help of an AI character, they get helped out of the situation, but it also makes it worse. In this book, the second one, we are following a whole new host of characters. Again, I forgot their names because I read this a while ago, but they are at that base which the characters in the first book are trying to flee towards to get to safety, but the people at this space station, that's the word, they're finding it difficult as well. They're not necessarily as safe as they thought. They have their own slew of problems and they're trying to fix it. I just really love this series. I love the AI characters, I just love it, and I love science fiction, so I knew I was going to like this series. But I did not realize how much I would love it. I mean, this book, even though it's over 600 pages, I read in like 2 days and 2 sittings. And that's helped by the fact that it's written in mixed media format, so it's a lot easier to get through, but oh my god, I just loved it. Now, as for the 5 series I started, I'm going to kind of break them up into series that I plan on continue reading the books, series that I might continue reading but are not a high priority, and then series that I know I'm not going to continue with or are very unlikely for me to continue with. So let's go to that one, the nope category. That will be the Grisha series by Leigh Bardugo. I just did not like the plot, the writing style, the characters. There was nothing there that I enjoyed, and it's kind of sad because I do really want to see why there's hype around Six of Crows, which is kind of the connecting duology to this first series, and I don't want to jump into that second series without having read the first one. So if I am to read the rest of the books in the series, that would be why, solely so I can read Six of Crows. I really don't even remember too much about the plot. I'm pretty sure it just had to do with a kind of Russian-based fantasy world, and it's kind of a mix of The Hunger Games and Twilight, and not the good parts of The Hunger Games. So I just did not enjoy this one at all, and again, I probably will not continue on with the series. As for the Might Be Read series, the first one is the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. Out of those 3, I can see myself mostly inclined to read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas because I had the fewest issues with this book. I thought the plot was interesting. It might not be captivating, but I thought it was good enough to continue on. The characters were okay, and there was one character in particular, which I forget his name. Again, I've read these books so long ago. That's the problem with me filming a book about a summer check-in in the middle of October. But yeah, there was one character that I'm kind of interested to see more about. So yeah, I do kind of see myself reading or continuing on with this series. If you do not know, which I don't know how you can because of course this is a popular booktube book, this is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I think it's done in a very unique way. So again, that's why I would continue reading the series. It's not a priority for me, but out of the 3 in this category, I think it is the most likely to happen. So then the other series in this category is the Lightbringer series by Brent Weeks. I did not particularly enjoy the most of this book. It was only the last 50 pages that kind of gripped me and want me to see what happens next. I did not like the characters. They were all just like awful people, and I could not sympathize with them at all. It was very slow, but again, it's kind of because it's an epic fantasy and it needs to build the world, but I just did not like the way it was done. And so yeah, the only reason that I would continue on with this series is because those last 50 pages of a 600-page book, mind you, kind of gripped me and made me want to see what happens next. Don't think it'll happen anytime soon, but it is kind of on my mind to want to read the next book in the series. And finally, the book that I think is the least likely for me to read, but I won't say that I'm definitely not going to read this book, is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I read Steve Bones, which I did read the first 3 books I think years ago. I just forgot what happened, but rereading the first book, it did not appeal to me. And it's sad because this is a book that my cousin actually really enjoys, and because of that, I did include it in this category of whether I'd read or continue on reading the series. And also, I just am fascinated by how many books are in this series and how many series kind of connect within this series. if you know what I mean. So I kind of just want to do it to see if all of the books are good. But I don't know, I don't want to waste my time reading how many books, like 15 books, and not enjoy them. So I don't know if I'll read this series. It's just not my thing, but I don't know, I kind of do want to give it a chance. And then finally, the books that I definitely see myself continuing on, or the series that I can see myself continuing on with the books, is Raven Cycle by Maggie Steve Otter. I had no idea what this book series was about. I just heard a lot of people on BookTube talking about it, and I was intrigued. And I did not think I would like this book as much as I did. There were some issues, but out of all of the series that I kind of read because of their popularity on BookTube, of course this was my favorite because I want to continue on with the series. But I just like the paranormal aspects to it. I like the characters. It's just really interesting, and the fact that it's about ley lines kind of intrigues me as well, because that's like a very looked down upon part of archaeology, but a part of archaeology nonetheless. So I'm really curious to see what happens in the next couple of books. So those are my thoughts on the books that I have read that were on my list of my summer perspective TBR. If you have read these books, please let me know if I should continue on. Also, if you do see my summer perspective TBR video where I listed all of the books and you want me to read a book or book series that I have not read, please let me know, and I'll try to do that as soon as I can. But that's it for my check-in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.